Okay, however, as I said, sure. Shayat building from Hakel. Hakel is a man we should learn. So, we're learning Sugya and the Gemara. We'll learn them inside a little bit. And hopefully we can create a little chayas and a little added energy in learning in Limud Torah. One of the reasons besides learning Ashtikul Gemara, I once heard someone give a speech and he said, listen, I don't know if you understood everything, but at least you come away with a piece of what Ashtikul Gemara, maybe you come away with Ashtikul Gemara. So Pashut Harabin and a Gemara and a Geshmak Sugya. And another reason why I picked this Sugya, because when it comes to Hakel, the Inyan of Achdus by Klal Yisrael, how everyone came together to learn Torah from the Melech. So, as you see in this paper, the last quote from the Taz, so the Taz writes, "V'kan yesh chidush," there's a chidush in this sugya, b'minig, that what? That ha-svardim noyegim k'toisvis, that the Svardim are noyeg like Toisvis, who was a Ashkenazi, v'ha-Ashkenazim and Ashkenazim are Rambam, like the Rambam, the Zelay Mitzinu B'Shar Mekaymis. He says the Taz says we didn't find it in any other place where we have this reverse, so to speak. That, and we'll see soon what this means. So this is very negated to the union of Hakel and the union of Hakel and the Skalos of all the Yidden together, that we don't even differentiate between Ashkenazi, Sfardi, or Minhagim. All Minhagim, they all come together, or at least, I don't know if it comes together, two different Minhagim, but there's no differentiation in Klal Yisrael. So let's start with the Gemara inside. Talmud Rabban, the Rabbanan taught that mitzvah Chanukah, when you come to do the mitzvah of Chanukah, the main mitzvah of Chanukah is Ner Ishu Beisa, that you have to light one candle for Ishu Beisa, for the family, for the household. You have a family, and you have everyone in the family, that's fine, just light one candle. You light one candle every single day, and you're Mekayim the mitzvah of Chanukah, of Ner Chanukah, and that's the halacha, by the way. That is the halacha. It has numerous nafkaminas. Hamehadrin. If you're Mehadrin mitzvahs, so here it's ner l'chol echad ve'echad, that each person in the family needs a candle for him, needs a candle for each person in the family. Whether it means only the men, or men and women, the Rambam writes anashim v'nashim, other Rishonim say all men, but the Mehadrin is ner l'chol echad ve'echad, for each person in the family, one candle. Hamehadrin min Hamehadrin, if you are Mehadrin more than the Mehadrin. So here we have a machlekes. Beishamai Yom Nim, Beishamai says, Yom Rishon, the first day, Madlik Shmoyne, you light 8 candles, Mikam ve'elech poiches ve'elech, and every day you decrease 1 candle. Second night, 7 candles, third night, 6, etc. Uveis Hillel Yom Nim, Yom Rishon, Madlik Achas, the first day you light 1 candle, the way we do it, and every day you go increase 1 candle at a time, every night, 2, 3, 4, etc. So now the Gemara says, Amar Ula says, that Pligi Botrei Amaroi b'Marava, that in Marava, in Eretz Yisrael, there were two Amarayim, who had a machlekes about what the reason for this, for the machlekes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. Rabbi Yossi bar Ovin and Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. These were the names of the two Amarayim. Chad Amar, one of them said, time of the Beis Shammai, the reason of Beis Shammai, why he says the first night you do 8 and then you decrease, is Keneged Yomim HaNichnasim. Because it corresponds to the days that are left to Chanukah. The days that are Nichnasim, that we're going to go into. That means the first night, we're going into 8 more days of Chanukah, so we light 8. The second night, we're going into 7 more days of Chanukah. It's much easier for the kids to count how many days left there is to Chanukah. Beis Hillel says, Keneged Yom HaYotzim, how many we already experienced, how many days of Chanukah already passed by us. That's one opinion. The Chad Amar, and another point, and another Amar that says, time of the Beis Shammai, the reason of Beis Shammai why it says we decrease is Keneged Parei HaChag. It's because it's similar to the part of Chag on Chag HaSukkos, where every day there would be 1 less carbon. And time in the Beis Hillel, why Beis Hillel says we add is Mailim B'Kodesh V'Ein Medidin. We go in Kodesh, we always go higher, so therefore we go 1, 2, 3 instead of Ein Medidin, instead of going down. We're not going to discuss tonight what's the connection between Parei HaChag and Mailam B'Kodesh to Chanukah. That's not going to be part of the discussion. So now when it comes to this Gemara, we have the main mitzvah, which is Ner Isha Beisai, one candle for the whole household. Then Mehadrin is a candle for each person in the household. And then you have Mehadrin, Mina Mehadrin, where Beis Shammai says you go higher, and go lower, Beis Hillel says you go higher. So the shaila is, how do we learn this Gemara? So I brought first the Rambam, because in my mind, the Rambam is the most clearest way of understanding the Gemara. And the Gemara, the Rambam writes like this: Kama neiris humadlik b'Chanukah. How many candles do you light on Chanukah? So he says like this: Mitzvasa, the mitzvah, the main mitzvah, is sheyiyeh kol bayis ubayis madlik ner echad. That every single house should light one candle, and this is regardless bein shahayu anshe abayis merudin, whether the house has a lot of people in it, and bein shahayu by ela adam echad, or whether there's only one person living in that house. In any case, you light one candle every single night. On top of that, Hamehadrin is a mitzvah, right? That's the Mehadrin, which the Gemara uses the language ner l'chol echad ve'echad. Hamehadrin is a mitzvah. Madlik neiros, he lights candles. So we're talking about one person lighting candles. Kiminyan anshe habayis, like there is the amount of people there are in the house. Ner l'chol echad ve'echad, one candle for every single person in that house. Bein anashim, bein nashim. Then Rambam goes like this: V'hamahadr yoyser. On this point, I'm not aware of that.
The Reish bias he lights for everyone.
So there is an argument, but I'm not sure where the argument, because the argument is in the Mehadrin and Mehadrin, meaning we in Mehadrin and Mehadrin, let's get Mehadrin and I'll say where there is an argument. And l'chara, you could translate it also there. But I haven't seen anyone say it there. We'll get to it in a second. V'hamahadr yoyser alzeh, someone who's mahadr more than the mahadr, right? So he's adding on Mehadrin mina mahadr. What does Mehadrin mina mahadr mean? That I am more mahadr than the mahadr. So here he says, you mahadr says what? That you ner l'chol echad ve'echad, one ner for everybody.
Every night of Hanukkah.
Every night of Hanukkah, one there for everybody. They like doing mitzvahs really good, really the best way possible. Madlik ner l'chol echad, they light a candle for every single person. B'layla harisha, in the first night, one candle for every single person. And every single night, they add another candle for each person. So Mehadrin min Mehadrin, according to Rambam, is a direct continuation to the Mehadrin. The Mehadrin say that you light for each person in the house. But according to the Mehadrin, it's one candle every night. Every night, one candle for each person in the house. Says Mehadrin min Mehadrin, I'm going to be better than you Mehadrin. You Mehadrin are right, that you do one for each person in the house, but you also have to add a candle every night for each person in the house. That's Mehadrin. Now, when you look at the Rambam says, Madlik ner, you light a candle for each person. It doesn't say that each person should light a candle. He says, Madlik ner. That means that, according to the Rambam, the head of the household will light all the candles for everybody. The Ramah says that, the way we do it, that every single person lights by their own. Not that the head of the household will light for every single person, but rather, every single person lights on their own. Now the question is, I guess that was the question. Well, and the Ramah is mitzayim to the Rambam. Right, because they're learning the Gemara in that way. So the question is why there's that difference between the Rambam and the Ramah in that chiluk, and there's numerous reasons given for it. There's a famous griz, or fellow grizker, and there's other answers that are given to why that changes. But the way to learn the Gemara, that Mehadrin min Mehadrin adds on the Mehadrin, that means the Mosusin another way of learning it, that's the Rambam's way of learning it. And then there's this one difference, so now the Shaila is also according to the first way, the Mehadrin, which says Ner l'chol echad ve'echad, which, like the Rambam writes, Madlik Ner for every single person, whether
what would Rabbi say?
What would? So what's interesting is, and the Rabbi speak about it, that the whole middle way is not brought down. in Shulchan Aruch, and the Tur Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring down. Somehow it got wiped out the middle way. The Mehadrin don't exist. Maybe on some place can you see it, but in the Shulchan Aruch it's not there. So that's Rambam. Now we're going to learn Tosfos. Tosfos on the page. We're going backwards, and in my mind, there's 3 Chedushim in Tosfos that is not Pashup Pshat in the Gemara. It's not Pashup Pshat. So he says like Mehadrin min Mehadrin. Literally, it seems to be number 1, Beis Shammai Beis Hillel loikaimi ella aner ishu beisai. That when Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, who according to the Gemara is the Mehadrin min Mehadrin, he's not going on the Mehadrin. He's not going on ner l'chol echad ve'echad, but rather he's going only on ner ishu beisai, on the original takana. That's chiddush number 1. One menorah for everyone in the family, but you add every night a candle. So Mehadrin and Mehadrin.
Mehadrin can have more than Mehadrin.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. I mean, I don't know if we'll get to that, but right, it's possible depending on how many people you have in the family in the house, right? But that's chiddush number 1. Chiddush number 2, which some Achronim actually mentioned, we just now mentioned. Chiddush number 2 is that if that's the case, so then why is it called Mehadrin min Mehadrin? Mehadrin min Mehadrin, according to Rambam, makes a lot of sense. You have the Mehadrin who's ner l'chol echad ve'echad, and then you have the Mehadrin min Mehadrin who adds on the Mehadrin. But according to Tosfos, if Mehadrin min Mehadrin, you have one way of adding. So we have one way like this. You have the Gemara says ner ishu beisai. You have one type of Mehadrin that says no, let's do one for every single person in the family, and you have another type of the Mehadrin that says no, let's add every night one candle. What's Mehadrin min Mehadrin? So Tosfos seems to answer. Tosfos has the same problem. So he says Shekain Yesh Yoiser Hiddur. He says the reason why this is called Mehadrin min Mehadrin is because it's Yoiser Hiddur. So that's chiddush number 2. That according to the Gemara, the reason why it's Mehadrin min Mehadrin makes a lot of sense because it's a safa on Mehadrin. But Tosfos doesn't want to learn that, so he has to say chiddush number 2 that what Shekain Yesh Yoiser Hiddur. It's called Mehadrin min Mehadrin because there's a bigger Hiddur than the regular Mehadrin. But now we can understand why there's a bigger Hiddur. So he says, Shekain Yesh Yoiser Hiddur. What's the bigger Hiddur? So here's chiddush number 3. The Ika Hakera Kishemahoisef V'Hoilech Oy Mechas. There's a certain heker when you add or decrease. Shehu Keneged Yamim HaNechnasim Oy HaYotzim. Because it corresponds to Nechnasim V'Yotzim. Why am I saying this is also a chiddush? Because when you learn the Gemara, it's not mashma anywhere that the reason of Beis Shammai, when the Gemara brings the reason of Beis Shammai, Keneged Yamim HaNechnasim V'Yamim HaYotzim, it's not mashma anywhere that this has to be expressed in your candles, in your mitzvah. It happens to be that Mehadrin min Mehadrin hold this way, that you're being moisif or pleiches. You want to know why? Because it's keneged yamim v'yotzim keneged hayamim ha'yachan nechnasim. But to say that this has to be nicker to everybody, that's not, everyone has to notice that it's yamim nechnasim and yamim v'yotzim. Doesn't say it anywhere. So Tosfos is saying a third chiddush. Not only do we light more for neged nechnasim or neged hayotzim, but there has to be a heker in this. And if we're going to lose that heker of Nam Ma'achnasim and Nam Ma'yotzim, then that's a problem. So it's the third chiddush. He says, Yesh Yoiser Hiddur, the Iker Hekera, this heker of Moisef HaHoilech is a Hiddur. And this is a chiddush on the Gemara, where the Gemara just brings it as a reason, but not that it has to be nicker in the candles. That
Why Tosfos doesn't realize that there's a difference between the person Ma'yotzim?
Again?
You don't realize there's a heker. You don't realize there's a heker. There's a person Ma'yotzim?
It's not Mehadrin and Mehadrin. It's not Mehadrin and Mehadrin. You want to make it here, so we'll talk about it in a second. If you're going to make a candle for kol echad, which is Mehadrin, and then afilu yotzif become ve'elech, and then you're going to add, which is pretty much the Rambam's opinion, leka hekera, there's no heker, sheyisbridu shekach yesh b'nei adam b'bayis, because you're never going to know. You're going to think that these are the amount of people. If you hold like Mehadrin, that you light candles for every single person in the house. I'm also learning a Tosfos, guys. Is this very deep? Yeah? We good? Should we slow it down?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. So we have our two ways of learning the the Gemara. We have Tosfos and we have Rambam. According to Rambam, we'll discuss the machlekes between Gemara. Anyone can come over to me a different time, and we'll discuss the machlekes between the Rambam and Tosfos. How I think the machlekes is. But let's move on. We have here the Gemara, we have here Tosfos' way of learning it, and we have here Rambam's way of learning it. According to the Rambam, Mehadrin and Mehadrin adds on the Mehadrin. According to Tosfos, Mehadrin and Mehadrin only adds on the mitzvah, but not on the Mehadrin and the Mehadrin. Not on the Mehadrin. Says, let's forget the Mishnah Torah, the next one, because that's for something that was. I don't want to get too deep into this right now. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Let's say says the Mishnah Torah. Let's do Mishnah Torah Hilchos Megillah Chanukah Perek Dal Halacha Gimel. Minig Pashut B'chol Areinu B'Sfarad. This is the Rambam speaking. That the Minig Pashut in all of our cities in Sfarad, in Spain, which is what we speak about Sfarad. Sheyiyu, I don't know if it means Spain, but it means the Sfarad, that whole area of Morocco, that whole part. Sheyiyu kalanchi habayis, and everyone in the house should madlik ner echad b'layla rishayna. That there's one candle for everybody for kalanchi habayis in the house. Umaysifim v'holchim ner b'chol layla, and every night they add a candle. Ad shenimtza madlik b'leil shmini shmoyna neris, and then they light it in the 8th night 8 candles. And this is regardless, bein shahaya anshe habayis merubim, bein shahaya adam echad. In any scenario, whether you have a lot of people in the house or one person in the house, you add every single night 1, and you're left with 8. This is a pashtus way of learning the Rambam. This is the way most Achronim learn it. There are some people who want to make this Rambam work together with his own shitta, but this is a simple way. So just to break it down, according to the Rambam, the minig in Sfarad is not the way the Rambam paskin, but the way Tosfos paskin, and the Rambam himself brings it down. The Rambam writes that the minig in Sfarad is that it makes no difference if you have a lot of people in your house or a little people in your house. Every night you start with 1, and then the next night you go on to 2 to 3 to 4. The last night you're only with 8. It makes no difference how many people are in your house. That's exactly Tosfos' opinion. So the Rambam says that the minig in Sfarad is at Tosfos. Now let's go to Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says, Kama neres madlik b'layla harishayin. Kama neres madlik. He says, b'layla harishayin madlik echad. Mikam ve'elach, moisif v'hoylach echad b'chol layla. The first night you light 1. And every night after this night, you add 1 candle b'chol layla. Until the last night, there'll be 8 candles. And even if there's many people in the house, don't light more than the regular 8. Don't light more than the 8. Because the Beis Yosef says, like the Minik Pashut in Sfarad, the Beis Yosef says, like Tosfos, that you have the original mitzvah is that you light 1, and that you every night add 1 more. Says the Ramah, and there are those who say, that every single, there should be a candle. I'm saying there should be a candle. It's not exactly what the Ramah says, but there should be a candle for every single person in the house. Who says that? There should be a candle for every single person. When you're adding, you should add 1 for every single person in the house. That's the Rambam. That's the Rambam. So you have here like this. You have Shulchan Aruch, the Beis Yosef, the Mechaber, who was from Sfarad, who had minik Sfaradim. He paskins like Tosfos. Then you have the Ramah, that the Ramah is known as when he made his Ha'aretz, his Agas to Shulchan Aruch, he was adding the Ashkenazi Minhagim. What did he say you should do like? You should do like the Rambam. And then it says, the Ramah finishes off on the Moral Miprag. You should make sure that every single person lights it in his own place. With this, he's answering this question. We're not gonna move on that. Let's go to Taz. The Taz says that the Sfardim are noyeg like Tosfos, and Ashkenazim like Rambam, and we did not find this in any other place. So what I want to tell you right now is that Matzinu is a Bekam Mekaymis. So we're going to see right now where we find it. So number 1, I don't have the Sikh in front of me, but Teres Menach and Tavshin and Vav Chelik Beis, that page, the Rebbe discusses. What? The Rebbe discusses. It was Tashlim above right after a few years after Takana Limud Rambam, and the Rebbe, when he used to make a Fabring, would speak about the Rambam Yaimi. So the Rebbe on Chanukah, there was the Rambam Yaimi of Chanukah that year was somewhere in Mishpatim where it's talking about a knas that you have to give someone who's mevaza talmidei chachamim. That the Rambam writes that you give a knas for being mevaza talmidei chachamim. And the Rambam writes, even though the Rambam writes that you're supposed to give a knas, he says we don't find that that's the minhag. The Mechaber writes also that we don't find that's the minhag, and the Ramah says you should give it. So the Rebbe says when he wrote this down that this is something very similar to Hilchos Chanukah. The Rebbe says that over here also we see that the halacha that Ramah brings that the minhag is to punish someone who's about to be Chachamim. That's the Rambam. But the minhag that the Rambam himself brings was not to do it. So I don't know who the other opinion is, but at least in one half of the situation, the Rebbe brings this connection, and the Rebbe also tries to connect it. The Rebbe doesn't try. The Rebbe connects it to the Inyan of Chanukah. The Rebbe connects it to the Inyan of Or, being Meisafar and Yerushalayim, and that's connected to what's. Well, that's another place where the Rebbe brings this machlekes, and the Rebbe says we have another similar situation. That I happen to come through across in my learning, in my life, by mistake. Google helped me find another one. This came, mamash. I'm saying Amam Darag Talmud Chacham. This one I happen to know from Chveif. I happen to know, and this is mamash Google, but it's another good one. That in Simin Tafai and Dalin Hilchos Arachayim, where it talks about making a bracha on the Dalit cases on Pesach night. So Shaila is you make a bracha on each one. Says the Alter Rebbe, Yesh noyagim shaloi levarich. But I'm reading it from Alter Rebbe. It's nothing to do with Alter Rebbe, but it's cute because I'm using Alter Rebbe because I want to read the Mareh Mekaymis, the tziyunim of what the makar is. That's why I'm reading Alter Rebbe. Yesh noyagim shaloi levarich b'rei pri hagafen al kai sheni, not to make a bracha on the second cup, the fish niftar b'rei pri hagafen al kai rishon. V'chein levarich al kai revi. There's an opinion that says and you only make a bracha b'rei pri hagafen on the first and the third cup. Who is this? Who's this opinion? So says here in the bottom and the tziyunim on the side. The Rosh lived where? What? The Rosh was an Ashkenazi. Lived where? He lived in, I believe, in France. And Tur v'Shulchan Aruch. So the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Rosh. That what you only make a bracha on the first and third cup. Then the Alter Rebbe continues on in Tzif Beis after a whole long beer. Ubebedinas elu noyagim. How do we noyag? Levarach gam al kaisis is also in that one. I'm reading the bold Mareh Mekaymis. Ubebedinas elu noyagim levarach gam al kaisheni v'revi. Why? And he says the reason for this reason. What's the makar for this? Ches, Ramah, Rif, and Rambam. The Rif was a Sephardi. The Rambam we know was a Sephardi. So here we see the Ramah passes again like the Rif and the Rambam. So we see here another case where the Ashkenazim paskin like the Sephardim. That means the Ramah paskins like the Sephardim, and the paskins like the Ashkenazim. Now, really, I have nothing else to say, but I'll just say there's actually something very interesting going on over here. That where do we see these two flip things? By Pesach, which is the inyan of a net, and Sai by Persuma Nissa, and Sai by